Hey guys, Dan here, also known as Spiffy. Excited to bring you this next review. This is for the Fender Tonemaster Twin Reverb, which is a solid state version of the Twin Reverb amplifier that we all know and love. That's the Tonemaster there on the right, and that's a Twin Reverb reissue right there on the left. I guess I heard about these kind of late. I didn't realize that they were a thing until a few weeks ago. I saw a post in one of the praise and worship forums asking why more people weren't talking about them, and I realized I'd never heard them, and which was surprising for me because this is the kind of thing I've been chasing for years. I've always wanted a solid state amp that sounded like a clean tube platform. Just a solid state pedal platform that sounded good. And I used to tour with the Yamaha G100 series, which were great, but very heavy. So, you lost one of the advantages of a solid state amp there. Same with the Roland Jazz Chorus. There's two reasons you don't want to tour with a tube amp. One is the, reliability and having to replace tubes, or tubes get loose, or, things of that nature. And the other is that they're heavy. And so if you have a heavy solid state amp, you gain one of the things, but not both. And so I'd done the Yamahas, I had done the Carvin SX series. I had early in the game, I'd had a Fender Frontman, which is a real cheap one, but it was like a cheap solid state version of a twin, which honestly wasn't terrible. The worst thing about it was the speakers. If I'd had the foresight to put better speakers in it, it probably would have been a much better amp. Most recently, I've been using the Eric Gales guitar head with a Fenderish cabinet, which has been pretty great. The only disadvantage to me is I really don't like doing head and cabinet. I'd rather just have a combo. But other than that, the Eric Gales has served me very well. And I wasn't in the market for anything new, but when I heard about these, I'm like, oh my God, this is what I've been wanting all these years. So I said I gotta get one. So the closest guitar center that stocked them was in Brookfield, Wisconsin. And I went up there with the intention of special ordering one, and they said, oh, we've got one in stock. And I said, really? Because I'd looked throughout the store, and I saw this, but I honestly thought it was that. I thought it was just a regular reissue twin, and they said, no, that's the Tonemaster version. It looks just the same. So I got it home, and it is incredibly much lighter. Like, I can carry this with one hand easily. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't weigh that much more than my 210 cabinet with the Neo speakers in it. Cost is about the same as a reissue twin, and honestly, you can find a reissue twin used for cheaper than you can get these new. When these start turning up used, probably be a different story. What other comparisons before we actually start playing it? So the store in Milwaukee says that they've had 10 since they started stocking them, and they pretty much sell the same day they put it out, and they haven't had any returned yet. The closer store to me, which is the Madison store, hasn't had any yet. So, let's start with the the reissue tube twin, and I've got it set to volumes at 4, trebles at 5, middles at 5, basses at 10, the reverb and tremolo are off, and bright switch is off. And that's how I typically use it playing in this room. The only thing I ever really adjust much is the volume. Sometimes I'll turn it up, sometimes I'll turn it down. This is probably about as loud as I would use it for in the house, is volume 4. I got my American Strat here, my 89 American Strat, and I got my pedal board. First thing I notice is that this has got a lot more noise. Like this I hear from it, even with the volume down, there's some hiss. That one's dead silent. And even if I unplug it, the pot's a little dirty, and I've cleaned it multiple times, so that could be a factor too, but there's some ambient hiss. I plug the guitar in, whereas here, a little bit when I plug the guitar in, but less. So that's a point in this one's favor already. So here's what the Strat sounds like with the tube twin. I'm using the second position, or whatever you call this one, neck and middle. that's the sound that I'm looking for out of a twin. And I pretty much, when I'm playing a Strat, that's pretty much the only clean pickup position I use. I can show you the other ones though. And just for the sake of reference, here it is with everything at 5. Louder, obviously, because I turned the volume up to 5, and it's missing that bottom end that I need. Let's go to this one, and I have it set to the same thing: 4, 5, 5, 5. No, 4, 4, 5, 5, 10 for the bass, reverb, and tremolo off. So the first thing I notice, it's not as loud, and it's not as bright. It definitely sounds muddier. So let's turn that bass down. Okay, that didn't improve it any. There's the bottom end is missing that I like, but it's not any brighter. So let's turn treble to 7. It doesn't have that presence that I need. Let's try it to 10. Now it just sounds wonky. Let's try it back at 5. Let's try turning the mid-range up. Nope, that doesn't make it. Let's try the bright switch. Let's try the bright switch and the treble up a little bit. See, now it sounds like what it's supposed to. It's still quieter than the other ones. So let's turn it to 5. Let's see how close I am. I feel like this one's just a little muddier. Let's try a little more treble, maybe take the bass down a couple. Too much treble. Let's back the treble off one. Did I bump the reverb? No. Turn the bass up one. So for reference, to match what I have on this one, which is 4, 5, 5, 10, on this one I'm at 5, 6, 5, 8. So, it's not that it can't sound the same, it just doesn't sound the same out of the box with the same settings. And that could be, honestly, I mean, I've had 2 tube twins sound different. Some of them you need the bright switch on. Some of them, like this one's unbearable with the bright switch on. Let me just show you for a second, actually. Yeah, with the bright switch on, that's like ear piercing. So, but I've had some that I've played on tours and stuff where you definitely do need the bright switch on. So, I don't think that's necessarily a flaw in this amp. I think it's just that there is, you know, and I would put the differences down to difference in speakers more than differences in the amplifier, because I know they don't use the same speakers, and just, I mean, simply with a different magnet in the speaker, that can account for those type of differences. And I don't, you know, I don't know if they changed the speakers in these over the years or what, but I know the old ones don't use the same speakers as the new ones. So, let's just go back to this one, and just for the sake of reference, we're going to do 5, 5, 5, 5 across the board, just so you can hear. So they're more similar at volume when I just keep them at, you know, half for all the things, but this one's brighter. Okay, you know what? Let's try one other thing. I'm gonna put it back to the setting that I like. So 10. Let's try a couple other things. So 10. And what I do over here? This was 6, and bright's on. Oh, yeah, bright was still on this one when I did that last comparison. So even with bright on, this one's brighter. Let's do. That was 5. What did I do before? 5, 5, 8. So let's try the reverb. I don't play with reverb, but a lot of people do. Give it a little bit. Even at 2, it's a ton of reverb. Let's go to 10. There's an absolute ton of reverb, which is I know some people love. It's not my thing. See, at 2. Okay, as a non-reverb user, that reverb is spot on. Again, somebody who's more picky about reverb than I am might have a different, might feel differently. Let's try the tremolo. I also don't typically use tremolo when I play, but let's give it a try. Oh, well, mine doesn't work. Or maybe it just needs the foot switch. I've never used it. As a non-tremolo user, they nailed it. So far the only differences are this one's a little quieter and a little less bright. And this one's louder and brighter. Reverb's very, spot on to my ears. Tremolo, I have to go from memory because apparently this one doesn't work without the foot switch. Spot on to my ears. Now let's see how loud it can get. This is all the way. This has got an attenuator in the back. We're not going to worry about that because there's no way to compare it to this. This is always all the way up. So we're going to keep that one all the way up. Let's see how loud we can get before it starts sounding like garbage. 4. Let's go to 6. Let's go to 8. I think that's starting to break up. I think 10 is going to be too much. So it's no longer clean at 10. And it's ear-piercingly loud. Let's go over here. What are we caught on? Stupid pedals. Let's go to 6. That was on 1 with the reverb. Let's go to 8. Let's go to 10. Let's go back to 8. Not as bright. Let's turn a little more treble. Let's go to 8 over here. Take a little bass out. Go back over here. the treble all the way up and see if we can get there, because it's just missing that clarity. Put some of the bass back in. I can't match the clarity. I can come really close, but I can't match it. The bright's on here, it's off here. When I turn the treble up too high, I mean, the frequency I'm looking for is higher than treble. It's the bright switch frequency. It's almost like without the bright switch engaged in this one is what it should sound like with it engaged, and then it engaged should be an extra boost of that frequency. You know, if all the legends about speaker break-in are true, then part of it could be that this has got very old speakers, because this is what, a 10-year-old amp that's been played a lot, and this one's literally, this is the first time it's ever been played. I don't even think it's been hooked up at Guitar Center. The cord was still in the package, and I haven't played it before making this video. So let's move on to some distortion. I'm going to go back to 5. Here's another thing just to keep as a factor. So remember I was talking about how this one's louder? Well, when I turn this volume up to 10, it goes right to 10. When I turn this volume up to 10, it goes past 10. So it could just be that the volume knob is not positioned exactly the same. So let's try it. Let's go to some distortion. That's quite loud. I'm only at 4 there. Let's see how we do over here. I want a little more bass. I want a little more bass and high. I still want more bass. Let's try it on. Where was my bass at on here? It's pretty high. Maybe I need to scoop the mids on this. I don't normally like doing... Oh, the middle is way up on here. That could be the reason. Let's go to 4. No, we're still not getting a lot of bass. Let's turn the bass all the way... Oh, it is all the way up. Bass 4. Try some overdrive. Well, it's quieter. We're at 5 over here and 4 over there, which is where we were before. But I do have the treble and the bass boosted over there, and the bass is boosted here, but the treble is flat. Now it seems like this one's brighter. Let's go back to clean. Now that I've been playing with knobs and stuff. And relax. I could play with this for a long time, but this has already been a 20-minute video, and, you know, who knows how many of you have stuck with me. So, in conclusion, or as a common meme going around said, them the facts, bro. So, they're very similar in sound. There are differences, particularly in terms of you can't set them the same and expect them to sound the same, but the same is true with two twin reverbs. Two tube twin reverbs. So, I don't know if I would consider that a flaw. I can tweak this and get it very, very close to this at its best. I can't quite nail it. I mean, part of that could just be I need to spend some more time finding the sweet spot. But personally, my opinion is the better an amp is, the less of a sweet spot it has. You know, a good twin reverb sounds good no matter how you set it. And I think that's true of this one, but I think it's less true of this one than it is of that. So just to address some of the common criticisms that I heard before I tried it for myself. Somebody said that it's not loud enough, or it's not as loud. I would disagree. The curve of the volume knob seems to be a little different, but that, like I said, that could be because the positioning is a little different. But when I dime it, when I go all the way up, it's just about as loud. You know, I can get all the bottom end out of this that I can out of that. The one thing I wasn't able to get out of this was as much top end sparkle as comes out of this. And I suspect it's the speakers, and again, maybe they need to break in. But I could come really close in the 20 minutes that we tried, but I couldn't nail it. So I wish, it's got a bright switch, I wish it had like an extra bright switch. And then I think it would be right on point. The reverb and the tremolo are right on. I didn't even bother to use the other channel because I never used the other channel in mine. You know, I'm sure it's my imagination, but I always feel like the vibrato channel sounds better. So I just go straight to that channel in any twin reverb. And I'm sure that's just horseshit. But that's just, you know, one of my little personal things. I've got a gig this weekend, and I'm going to use this amp. I'm going to use the Tonemaster Twin, and I'm going to see how it sits in the mix. Because that's the biggest difference. Sometimes an amp sounds really good by itself, but you can't get it quite right in the mix. And so there could be a starker difference between the two in that scenario. Or it could be just like using a twin in the mix, and I don't notice the little minute differences that we discovered today. So if I video that gig and those videos go up on YouTube, you can judge for yourself. It's a Christian festival in Oshkosh, so if you go to my YouTube channel a few days after this video posts, and there's any videos from a Christian festival in Oshkosh, then you'll know that was the Tonemaster. And then if I keep it, maybe you'll see it in a lot of future gigs. But that's all of the analysis that I can give it for today. Like I said, I think it comes close. And I think if you want to buy it for the reasons that it's selling for, which is, hey, it's a lightweight version of the Twin that's just as loud, and you don't have to worry about replacing tubes. I think it nails all those across the board. Is that worth the $900 that it costs to you? That's a personal question. And really, my only question in response to that is there another combo amp out there that does the same thing? People talk about the Quilters. I looked for them. I couldn't find a 212 one. They used to make a 210, but I couldn't find that for sale either. Maybe used, but I'm done buying used stuff to experiment. I only bought this because this is a specific thing that I've been looking for. Again, other solid state combos. I used to have the Yamaha. I actually had a Lab L5 or L9. But again, most of the solid state combos are just as heavy as a tube combo, so you lose that advantage. And I've got the Eric Gale's head, which is doesn't quite sound like a twin, but it's got a similar sparkly clean, and I like it a lot. So that's another option. But then again, you got a head and a cabinet. I think based on this, if you know what you're getting and you buy it for those reasons and you feel like it's worth the price for those reasons, you won't be disappointed, because it does what they claim it will. It has all the functions of a twin, sounds very similar to a twin, just as loud as a twin, looks like a twin. You can carry it with one hand easily. We bought it and we would parked, all the way across the parking lot and carried it to the car with one hand with no problem. Try doing that with a twin. You're going to have to set it down a few times. So beyond that, again, if that's worth $1,000 to you, then I think you'll be happy with it. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And if that's not worth $1,000 to you, I think you'll be disappointed, because while it comes very close, it doesn't exactly sound like a twin. There's just a few little minute things that are different. That again could be as different as any two twins. Maybe if I had a different twin here to compare it to, maybe it would, or maybe the speakers were broken in. I don't know, but they don't sound identical. And so if you buy it expecting it to sound identical, you're definitely going to feel like you didn't get your money's worth. But if close makes you happy, and all the features doing exactly what they say they will makes you happy, then I think you'll be very happy. Two things I didn't try here, just because we're only doing a comparison and they're not factors here, are the voice line out and the attenuator. I will definitely do a follow-up on the voice line out. We'll compare it to my Behringer pedal. That's going to be more time consuming to make that video, so because I'll have to get involved Cubase and overdubs and that sort of thing. But I'll get to that, especially if there's interest. So if you specifically want to see that, feel free to comment. And I may try the attenuator at some gigs if I get told I'm too loud, and we'll see. Otherwise, I probably won't use that, because there's not one on this, so why would I? So that's it for today. If you're interested in my reviews of the Eric Gales, that's up on YouTube. I've got a Quilter head that I compared it to, and I think I compared it to a Yamaha and a Carvin. I compared it to a bunch of solid-state guitar amps, so you can basically compare solid-state, clean guitar, pedal platforms. You got a lot of reference there. But I'm glad I got to try this one, and I'm leaning towards keeping it. So, looking forward to your comments, and thanks for watching.